a reading and sermon for February 23rd, 2025. The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 6th chapter. Jesus says, "But I say to you, listen, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other one also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those for whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies. Do good and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful as your Father is merciful." This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Today, Jesus tells us to love our enemies. To love them. To love our enemies. It seems so counterintuitive in the world in which we live. Aren't we supposed to fight back against our enemies and to push back where they want to hurt us and our loved ones and take what we think is precious away? Aren't we supposed to stand up for the little guy, for the people who need our help? And to do that, we've got to be strong, right? We've got to protect people. We've got to be fierce and relentless because our enemies are coming after us. We've discovered in the last several weeks, we had enemies we didn't even know we had. Now these government agencies are coming after the Lutherans. Woo, we're so scary. But they're coming after our Lutheran social service agencies around the country. Did you know 1 in 50 people that live in the United States are served somehow by one of our Lutheran social service agencies? That's the amount of good that we do together through our network. That's because of your generosity and mine. That's because a number of decades ago, someone decided that it's better to find the agencies that do this well and do it right and fund them rather than create some other government agency to do it. And whether that's right or wrong, we could debate, I'm sure. But that's the way it's been set up, and that's the way it's been run. Things like Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services and other organizations are now under deep fire by DOGE, D-O-G-E, and they're even called money laundering organizations. Our enemies are after us for doing the good we do. And what are we supposed to do about it? Are we supposed to fight? Push back, stand up, get involved? It seems like that's what we're supposed to do. And yet, what does Jesus call us to do? Turn the other cheek. How is that helpful? Isn't that weak? Isn't that just falling down and letting them run over us? Isn't that letting our enemy win somehow? Maybe? It certainly feels like it. These words from Jesus today, I don't know. They're pretty tough. I was remembering an old movie, a movie I've really only seen a couple of times. It's from 1985. I mean, it's 40 years ago. I remember watching it with my dad down in the basement with a big old tub of popcorn. He said, here's a space movie you might like, which is something that the two of us like to do. And it's one of my great memories when I was a kid, to spending time with my dad watching this movie. And then when it was over, he wanted to talk about it. And it was one of those just really good conversations we had when I was a young person. It's a good movie. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. I kind of have forgotten about it, but it really popped into my head when I was thinking about these words from Jesus this week. This movie is called Enemy Mine. M-I-N-E. Enemy Mine. It stars Dennis Quaid. It's actually the first movie I saw with Dennis Quaid in it. And Louis Gossett Jr. is kind of his counterpart, and he's an alien. And it's a survival story, is what it's about. So I had to look this up because I kind of forgot about the details of this movie. But anyway, it takes place in the future. It's science fiction. It takes place in the year 2092. And Earth, humans, we are at war with a race of reptile people called the Drac. And where we start this movie is in the midst of a battle. So who doesn't love a good space battle? I do. I thought it was awesome. So I'm watching this movie and I'm watching this space battle, and it's really, really cool. And then we see these two pilots. We see Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. going after each other. And they basically shoot each other down. And they land on this planet. It's a hostile planet. It's a deserted planet, though. People don't live there. It's full of danger, including the danger that they pose to each other. And for a while, not a lot of dialogue, but a lot of drama of hunting and being hunted by your enemy as they track you down and try to kill you. Scary stuff. Turn the other cheek in the midst of that? I don't think so, right? But what they figure out through a lot of trial and tribulation is that they're better off trying to help each other survive rather than trying to kill each other. And the two of them actually become friends. They become friends by getting to know each other, by helping each other, by getting to know each other's family histories and where they came from, what they grew up, what their likes are, all of those things, sharing stories, right? All the things that make friends friends when they were enemies. And if that's where the story ended, it would be kind of a good one. But it continues. We find out, because these two races of people, the Drac and the humans, don't know each other very well, that the Drac are a single-sex organism. And so Louis Gossett Jr.'s, his name's Jerry in the movie, Jerry becomes pregnant, and he's going to have a kid. And that brings them together. And they try to figure out on this hostile world how to raise this little child. And so they go about doing this. The little kid's name is Zamir, I think. Anyway, 3 years have gone by now, and they see a ship overpass. It's a human ship. They don't want to be detected, so they kind of stealthily approach. But in a number of circumstances, what happens is they start to fight these humans, because what these humans are doing is they've enslaved some Dracs, and they want to free them. And in the midst of a fight, the child, Zamir, gets stuck in between Dennis Quaid and some of these humans. And in trying to rescue him, Dennis Quaid gets shot, and we think he dies. But he wakes up. And when he wakes up, he's speaking Drac. And they think he's a traitor of some kind. And he has to go through this whole rigmarole of talking about his friend and trying to figure out where he is. Again, through some other circumstances, what he does is he steals a ship and he goes back to the planet to try to find his friend and his son. What he finds when he gets there is that his friend is dead, but Zamir is still alive, and he fights off the scavengers, these other humans, and rescues the child. And he fulfills this promise to his friend by going to the Drac homeworld to bring this child home. One of the moments of the movie is that Dennis Quaid is now standing before the council of their enemies, right? Human beings' enemies, Earth's enemy. And he recites the ancestry of this child, trying to remember his friend, Jerry. And in the very last moment of the movie, you see Zamir reciting his ancestry, and he includes Dennis Quaid as part of his lineage. Enemy. Mine. Turning the other cheek. We think of it as a form of weakness or of laying down or of somehow not having the courage we need to be able to stand up to the oppressors in our world. And yet, Marcus Borg, the old theologian who's been dead for a number of years now, he taught this about it, that when in Jesus's time, you had different strata of society, especially slaves and masters, and a slave could be beaten by their master, especially if they didn't obey them. But what would happen is you would have to backhand that slave to show him who's boss. You'd only fight someone with your fist or with an open hand if they were your economic and political and status equal. And so when you are being struck down, to turn the other cheek means you're forcing the oppressor to treat you like a human being, to treat you as an equal. And when you think of what's happening in our world right now as people are being erased, as people are being dehumanized, as the oppressor seems to be getting his way, what would it mean for us to, yes, stand up, and yes, fight back, and yes, protect those who are under our care, but not strike back in violence, not sink to their level, but to make them treat us as humans, as equals, as people worthy of having a conversation with about what they're doing and why it's so destructive. Maybe that is a way for us, in whatever way that we do that, to make our enemies mine. I think of the people that do such horrible, horrific things, and I wonder if they know love, if they know compassion, if they know what it means to be hurting or to be down and need help. And what might it mean for us and our Christian witness to show them? Not to show them, that's what we want to do, but to exercise restraint, patience, and calm, so they can experience Jesus, so they can understand compassion and mercy and love and forgiveness and welcome and peace. That's our job and task in these days, when it seems like so many enemies are on the move against us. It's easy to run around with our hair on fire. I have a fire behind me and I have no hair, so, But you know what I mean. It takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more wisdom, maybe even a little bit more faithfulness, to turn the other cheek in a productive way, to be that word of peace in the world, to, yes, stand up and fight back and push back, but not in the way the world expects, but to do it in the way of Jesus. Martin Luther's famous hymn, "A Mighty Fortress," is one of my favorites. You probably know it pretty well yourself. But the third verse of it, I think, speaks so well to our world right now and to what we're experiencing, and even the fear that we have about not just what's happening to us and to our neighbors, but to all of us. And we wonder if evil has the upper hand. And Martin Luther penned these words, 500 years ago? And we still sing them boldly. It's verse 3, where he says, "Though hordes of devils fill the land, all threatening to devour us, we tremble not, unmoved we stand, they cannot overpower us. Let this world's tyrant rage, in battle we'll engage. His might is doomed to fail, God's judgment must prevail. One little word subdues him." What is that word against the tyrants of this world, against our enemies, against those who seek to erase us and dehumanize us and throw us away, and also the least of these? What is that word? Be merciful, as your Father is merciful. Isn't that the greatest thing that Jesus teaches us, is mercy? Let's try to live it as we stand in the love of Christ, a love we don't deserve, but a love that is freely given, that lifts us up, that stands up on our behalf, that forgives us, that renews us, that gives us new life, to be those to stand in harm's way, and yes, to turn the other cheek when they come after us for the sake of our neighbors. Peace be with you, my friends. May that word sustain you as we live this love, as we make our enemies mine. Peace.